Hello, I'm Jason Solomons. Welcome to Seen Any Good Films Lately on BAFTA weekend. Who will win? Which film will shock? And does any of it matter?
In 100 years time, when Martians are coming down on Earth and trying to understand what we did here, they're going to see some films, and the only thing that matters is if those films are great and hold up and tell something about us.
That's Norwegian producer Thomas Robsahm talking about his contender, the brilliant rom-com The Worst Person in the World, nominated for Best Film, not in the English language, and for Best Actress for the brilliant Renate Reinsvie, the star who was born on my Cannes edition of this very show way back last July, and who's now up for Best Actress at the BAFTAs. We'll talk to Thomas about that film, and I'll also be talking to performer, artist, singer, actress Jehnny Beth, who you can see in Jacques Audiard's black and white modern romance Paris, 13th District. Two leading lights from the international film scene here on the show, after I tell you if I've seen any good films lately. With the BAFTAs approaching, I had to get all my final votes in, which meant catching up with a couple of films I'd somehow been late to or unaware of, I confess. I must tell you about Swan Song, because the magnificent Mahershela Ali got a Best Actor nomination for his performance in it, and I don't know how this film had passed me by. It's on Apple TV. Well, that might have something to do with it, because I don't have Apple TV. I mean, it's a point of principle more than anything else. How many subscription services can we all subscribe to? Anyway, shame on me. I missed out because it's a great little film. Directed by Benjamin Cleary for his first feature after he won the Oscar for his short film Stutter. It's really accomplished and strange. It's set a bit in the future where a corporation run by Glenn Close, so it's a bit of a scary corporation, it's invented a way of making perfect clones. So if we disappear, for whatever reason, our families won't notice the replacement if we order that action goes into place. Mahershela Ali has to decide if he wants his clone to take up with his gorgeous wife, played by one of my favourites, Naomi Harris, who was his old Moonlight co-star, remember? So there isn't just one big performance from Mahershala, but two, because he plays the clone as well. It's like a proper parents trap, this, because they are parents, and it's a very smart, thoughtful, weird, it's elegant and classy, and it's moody, perhaps a bit too moody and baleful. It's very handsome, very tasteful, but it's really emotional. I was in bits by the end of it. And Mahershala is as good as you've ever seen him, twice over, maybe better, because there's the cute side of him and there's an angry side of him. I'm not sure we've seen all of those together. I really recommend it, and stay with it for its twists and its philosophical poses. I mean, I really was crying by the end, and I have to say, it might have been enough to sway my vote for Best Actor on the night at the BAFTAs. Swan Song on Apple TV now. It's got some great music in it too, including this, a version of Moon River by Frank Ocean.
We're all chasing after our end, chasing after our end. Lights just around the bend, my friend. Moon River.
Okay, so I saw Norway's Worst Person in the World in Cannes, and I fell in love with the giddy Oslo set romance, and with the performance of actress Renate Reinsvie in the lead role of Julie, a woman on the verge of her 30s, but who doesn't know yet what she wants to do with her life, or who she wants to spend it with. The film's got some wonderful scenes, some of the best of the year in cinema, including a mushroom trip, brilliantly, funnily done, and a brilliant sequence bringing the city to a standstill, all for a kiss. I mean, a classic romantic moment, I think. And Renate took Cannes by storm, coming on my podcast and going on to win Best Actress in that order. So, you know. And now she's a star and nominated for Best Actress at the BAFTAs, and her film is among the nominees for film not in the English language. It's probably the toughest category of all, that one, with Hand of God by Sorrentino, Parallel Mothers by Almodovar, Drive My Car by Amaguchi, and Petite Maman by Celine Sciamma, all in there. And they're all on my list of the best around right now. Seriously, catch them all. You won't be disappointed by any of those. Anyway, I met the producer of Joachim Trier's The Worst Person in the World, Thomas Robsahm. He was here in town and in London, in Dublin and in Glasgow with his rock doc, Aha the Movie, which was great fun, and will be out here in May. So that's a lot going on from Norway, from one man. So I began by asking him why there was this sudden spike in artistic activity from Oslo.
Well, maybe it's a coincidence, or just, I mean, you know, when Aha started, it was, you know, you wouldn't expect anything out of Oslo or Norway. We were, 0 points in the Eurovision Song Contest every year.
You were the famous Louis Poix.
Yeah, and now suddenly, first we had Aha, but now, there are bands, artists, and also filmmakers now that actually, can make things that work out also in a country like England. So that's great.
In your film, in the Aha film, they say at the start, well, no one's ever left Norway. There's no bands, no footballers even. They don't. So now we have Martin Odegaard at my team, Arsenal, and Haaland is the biggest star in world sport almost. So Norway is, I think, having a moment. That's why I asked the question, because Denmark's had its moment, Sweden's had its moment. I feel like Norway's is now.
Yeah, it's probably true. It's we've always felt a little bit inferior to Sweden and Denmark, but now we are coming along. It's about time.
It seems to me the worst person in the world, which I absolutely loved. I had Renate on my show in Cannes because I saw that film and I just said, we have to talk to this woman. She's fantastic. But what I loved about it and what I spoke to her about it was this different side of Oslo that it presented. I mean, I've seen Joachim Trier's films before, but this felt younger, romantic, cosmopolitan, sort of hipster urban stuff going on. I'd never seen that side of Oslo on film before.
Yeah, well, some sides of Oslo are new, like the area they talk about with a little bit of shame because he says he actually likes it. That's completely new. And other parts are more classic, and one part is even in Oslo 31st of August. But yeah, after making Louder Than Bombs in America and doing a genre film, Thelma, Joachim wanted to go back to make another Oslo story inspired by recent experiences, and slowly we kind of thought that maybe we should call it, the third film in the Oslo trilogy, so that everybody knew that if you loved Reprise and Oslo and wasn't so sure about the next two ones, not because they were not good films, but just because they were, sidetracks in a way, then you can be sure to get back to what you want now, and that worked out brilliantly.
Great music in. I know what Joaquin likes to choose music. Great music in Worst Person in the World, and great music in Aha. Is that where is this a sudden double music production element to your work?
Yeah, well, what me and Joachim have in common for sure is that we are both music lovers. We both love music from the whole, from when rock was invented and even before, and we both DJ a little bit. Me mostly on my own DJ Thomas Robsahm Facebook thing, so I'm kind of popular amongst people that need Spotify lists for their dinner party or whatever, or sometimes even for parties, where they ask for a list, but sometimes also here and there. But Joachim does it more regularly.
Let's talk about your work as a producer and compare the two. Must be different your own film that you're directing as well and producing the AHA documentary, and then you've got the feature with Joachim. I know you've worked with him before. What's the sort of difference in the job for both of those?
Well, it depends a little bit who you're producing for. Joachim was already well established as a director when we started working together, so he in many ways is his own producer too, and of course he doesn't need that much artistic input, even though he does listen to a lot of people when he makes his films. He really wants to be sure that he makes the best version of his film. I've been directing and producing since I started working with film, and I don't see a big difference. For me personally, the only thing that's important is that the result is the best possible film. So if I have, if I'm just helping out as a consultant, or if I'm producing it, or if I'm directing it, it doesn't matter so much for me, because in 100 years time, when Martians are coming down on Earth and trying to understand what we did here, they're going to see some films, and the only thing that matters is if those films are great and hold up and tell something about us in 100 years.
When you're working with a director like Joachim, and you're a director yourself, how much of your vision and input can you get into a film like Worst Person in the World, when of course the AHA film is all yours? How do you sort of reconcile those two impulses in you to be the director and produce? How much can you get in as a producer?
It's not that important to get too much in there, actually, because I know Joachim is such a great director, and actually the most important thing for me is to have a say on the title and the poster and those things, so that we can get it to the audience.
Sell it well.
Yeah, because it's terrible when you make a great film and you're not able to sell it. And we've always had some discussions around titles. Louder Than Bombs was an English-speaking with English titles, so it was really hard to sell in Norway. And so after that, and then with Thelma, we also had some discussions around the title. And this time it was like, we have to have a title that we love. And Joachim was a bit nervous about it, so for a long while it was just called Film 5. And then one day he said, let's have a meeting, let's talk. And I had this title I was thinking about, and the funny thing is, before he said it, I remembered that when I read the script, there are chapter titles, so there were actually 10 titles like there. Yeah. So I remember thinking, well, maybe one of these chapter titles can be the title of the film. And I wrote down a few of them, and I was thinking about sending it out on an email, like saying, first of all, this is a great script. This is a film we can sell, I'm sure of it, it's great. And I have a few title suggestions based on your chapter titles. But then I decided not to, because sometimes as a producer, maybe it's not the smartest thing to come up with too many suggestions, to let the filmmakers kind of find out on their own. So when Joachim then had this meeting with me and said, I have this title, I'm wondering, I don't know. And he said, The Worst Person in the World, what do you think? And I said, great, it's super. That can work, as long as we put something on the poster so you understand that it's not literally the worst person in the world.
Because it's a rocking film, you think maybe it's a dark one.
Exactly, it must not come out as a dark film. So to be involved in how you sell the film, how you talk about the film. And I think one of the really lucky thing about this film is exactly the fact that Renate won in Cannes. Because the focus then, especially in Norway, was on the actress. People were really curious about her, about that role, and a little bit less focus on Joachim, who, is a great director, but seen a little bit too intellectual for the Norwegian audience. Exactly. So then, in this case, people focused much more on the film and on the character, and a little bit less on him, which I'm sure was great for having. We've reached 250,000 admissions in Norway, which is all Joachim's previous films combined.
Thomas Robsahm, producer of The Worst Person in the World, AHA, the movie which he's directed, is out here May the 26th. while Worst Person in the World arrives on our screens on March the 25th, just before the Oscars, where it's also got 2 nominations for foreign film and for original screenplay. What a movie. Time for my star guest now. She's Jehnny Beth, singer, performance artist, writer of erotic fiction, actress, rock star from Savages, and she's done a recent album duetting with Bobby Gillespie. She is a proper polymath and great company, and she plays sex cam girl Amber Sweet in Paris 13th District for France's coolest director, Jacques Audiard. You know, he did A Prophet, The Beat My Heart Skipped, Read My Lips, Rust and Bone. I mean, just wow, he's the greatest. And now he's working in black and white and subverting the classic French New Wave talking relationship movie, such as Eric Rohmer's My Night with Maud or Ma Nuit chez Maud. And he plunks it right in the middle of the new generation of digital natives and restless millennials in a futuristic-looking housing estate in Paris in the 13th arrondissement. It's called Les Olympiades. It's got skyscrapers and stuff, and all the buildings there are named after cities that have hosted the Olympics, or had when they were building it in the 70s. The French title of the movie is Les Olympiades. As we heard from Thomas Robsahm, they always like a different title in France. So I began talking to Jehnny Beth about this, about Céline Sciamma, about what veteran Audiard was asking his really good-looking young cast of Lucy Zhang and Noémie Merlan from Portrait of a Lady on Fire, Makita Samba, and of course Jehnny Beth, to explore in Paris 13th.
It's a film about love discourse, so in the modern world. So in Ma Nuit chez Maud, love discourse is the first thing that happens, and it happens for the whole night. And then there's no need for a physical interaction because everything has been said. In this film, those characters sleep on the first night almost. And so I think the question that Jacques was trying to explore is, what is the love discourse, if there is one today? Yeah. When does it happen? What does it say?
Which I think is really an interesting thing to explore.
Yeah, I agree.
But you do that a lot. You do that a lot in your work. I mean, in your music and in your writing, you're searching for something similar. I feel.
Yeah, it's interesting actually when Jacques proposed the role, because Amber Sweet is a cam girl, and this is a world I know from some friends and from particular experience. And I mean, I wasn't completely discovering that world. You know, I wrote a book of erotic fiction. It's things that I think about and in my work for sure. But one of the first things that Jacques said is the character isn't you, and you have a journey towards the character, and that journey is work. And I really appreciated that, because sometimes directors hire you or hire, I don't know if that's a word, but you know what I mean.
You get paid,
it is
didn't you? They get paid.
Yeah, I did. They hire you because, and they absolutely want you to not change, because what they see in you as a human being is what they want for the character. And I think what was really relaxing with Jacques is that he believes in the work ethic of an actor. He believes in that trajectory. He believes in transformation, and it's even more relaxing in a way, because there's how do you say, there's things you have to do, you know what I mean? There are steps, and it's kind of
there's a process that you're
through. Less in your head, you know.
Especially
you're less alone as well, because you're working with a team.
Yeah, but you have such a powerful, already established persona that is, let's say, it's a persona. It's not you yourself. It's your stage persona or your character that you create. He could have wanted that, because it's such a powerful punkish element.
Absolutely, and that can frighten directors sometimes. Because they think
that's anyone, I can tell you some of the stuff I've seen you do.
But because they think that they might think it's the only thing I can do, and I'm really thankful for Jacques to taking the risk for me to believe that I could do something else, because there's a softness in Amber Sweet. She's playing a role as well. I mean, there are similarities between me and her in a way. I don't know how to say, but. Amber Sweet is a job name, or is her artist name in a way.
Yeah.
And what Jacques wanted me to work is how she slowly becomes Louise, you know, how those barriers fall down. And I was kind of living a similar thing in my life at that point, because I moved to Paris, and And after 12 years in London, and where I changed my name, where I spent all my 20s, and I became an artist, and coming back to Paris was in a way coming back to, so even speaking French again was in a way connecting to a more intimate part of myself.
I suppose also a younger part of yourself, that if you spend your 20s in London, becoming an artist and doing on the music scene, then you've had a life there. And when you go back to Paris and you start speaking French again, it's what you did at school. It's what you did when you were a kid. When
I think you're right. Yeah, you leave. I left the language.
Well, si j'ai habité à Paris, I used to live in Paris, and I can become a different person in Paris. I can
tell you speak from experience, because that's what happens when you change country, doesn't it? You the language stops.
Yeah, when you want it to, really. You kind of want to become... You make that move because you want to become someone else, or see what that bit of you can do. Maybe it's a bit that isn't ruled by what people think of you here, or your parents, or whatever it is. And I'm not a rebel. I mean, you're far more rebellious than I was, so I have to say.
Yeah, but that's true. Language changes you, and a city as well, a country, a culture. And you want to be changed by that. So when I came back to France, it was almost like going back to where I'd left off, which was very early in my life. And but it was interesting, and I think in a way Amber Sweet is following a journey that is, she's slowly putting down the we unwrapping her, even though we don't know much about her.
No, she's still quite mysterious. Of all the characters, she still remains mysterious and slightly out of reach.
Yes, because she has a function of a second role, I think, in the film, which is she's the only character, Jacques always said, is the only character that has found it herself, who knows who she is, who knows what she wants, who's very happy in her situation, which is very unusual for someone who is a sex worker. I think in a film, it's usually the unsettled ones. So I really appreciate that, the modernity turn on that character, I think, because I think that's very modern, and it's definitely not an angle I had seen many times in movies before.
Did you feel like you were in a classic like Godard, Truffaut, Romer picture because you were like shooting in black and white in Paris, or did you feel that you were in a super modern picture?
I just felt that I was in a Jacques Audiard movie, but also black and white,
which is still pretty cool, to be honest. You're in a Jacques Audiard movie.
It is. I think black and white has this duality of looking classic but also modern, can modernize a story, but also setting it up in a classical frame, and I think it works because it's the black and white's quite shiny in the movie, and I think it gives it universal dimension as well.
Yes, I think it does. It takes it somehow out of Paris a bit, and Jacques was explaining he wanted to kind of make it look like an Asian metropolis in some way, because it has that feel to it. What about you're in a Jacques Audiard movie? Presumably you'd seen some of his previous work. Yeah,
I have. Yeah, I've seen them all. I mean, I'm a big fan of his, and I remember one of my favorite films is A Very Discreet Hero.
Oh, yeah.
And I watched that when I was really young, and watch it many times after. I know it really well. I don't know. It's funny knowing him now, because in a way, he kind of resembles his movies.
Do you think so? That's interesting. I've known him for quite a while too, and I think he's very funny, and he's very funny and waspish and funny. But he's eccentric, but he's also very smart, and
he's very smart, and I think he's very quick.
Yeah.
His mind runs really fast, and he gets bored really quickly. He wants to jump, and I think his movies have that element of, he's not trying to over explain things. Everything is there, but everything goes quite quickly. In a sense, scenes are quite short when you think about it. And they're trying to go to the essential, and they don't linger.
Did he let you bring some of your music?
What do you mean, my music?
Did you compose anything specially for this?
No. Ron did the music. Ron is a really dear friend of mine. He's an incredible composer, and I collaborated with him actually before. We did a song together on his previous record.
Who's this, Ron?
Ron.
Ron.
R-O-N-E.
Is he French?
He's French, yeah. He did the music for Les Olympiades, and he's a French electronic producer. and we're good friends. And Jacques didn't know we were good friends actually. And when he hired him, so I have an email of Jacques saying, "God, I'm so stupid. I just realized you two know each other really well." Ron's music, I think, is almost like a fifth character in the movie.
Yeah, it's quite powerful. I thought maybe you had some input in it, that's why. Yeah.
No, I didn't at all. I think the only thing was the song Falling, which Lucy is singing at the end, is a song that Jacques played to me very early on when we started working. And he liked it because he wanted my voice to change throughout the movie. So when she's Amber Sweet, she has a slightly different voice than when she's Louise. Yes. And so every time I was doing Amber Sweet, I would sing "Falling in Love Again" just to find the low ends, because Amber would have a low end voice, and then as we go towards Louise, her voice starts to go up a bit more. It's just a bit more natural.
You're going to work it into some sets? You're going to work it into some of your live shows, doing that song? Become your torch song, like Marlena.
Yeah. I don't think I can steal Marlena's torch. It's hers forever.
What about you? What did you have film posters on your wall when you were growing up?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I had, I don't know the French title for it. It's a Wim Wenders movie. Alice in the Cities.
Alice in the Cities. Yeah, you don't need the French title. It's an English show.
Alice dans les villes. Yeah.
Alice
I had it in French. Yeah, I had that. I had also The Kid by Charlie Chaplin.
Wow, what lovely posters.
Yeah, I had a lot of movie posters. My favorite film was also La Boum.
With Sophie Marceau.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I looked like her. I mean, I did everything I could to look like her.
I don't blame you.
When I was 8 years old.
You don't look like her now.
I had the same haircut. I had, I loved her.
I loved her too.
Yeah. So I was a real massive film fan. My parents, we didn't have TV, so we only had cassettes and we were only allowed to watch movies. So I was raised on Hitchcock and Truffaut and, Louis Malle. And
wow, what was the first film you ever saw?
I don't know, actually. It's hard to remember. I think...
Au cinéma, je veux dire, pas à la maison.
Oh, cinéma. Whoa. It's a really good question. I think I remember one film. It was The Rehearsal by Catherine Corsini.
Wow.
I went to see that, and I remember she used Taxi Girl as the end credit track. And I had never heard Taxi Girl, and that was a massive aesthetic shock for me. Incredible track. I really wanted to know who was singing that.
Wow, what a great first film. Never had that.
Yeah,
I ask my guests quite often, and I've never had a Catherine Corsini movie. Is their first?
Well, actually, I shot with her then 4
years
years ago, so it was quite funny.
Did you tell her that perhaps that she was the
I did.
Influence?
Yeah, not at first, but then when we became more friendly, I told her about that experience. Yeah, it was.
What was the film you did with her?
Un amour impossible.
Oh, yeah, Un amour impossible.
An Impossible Love, with Virginie Fira.
Yes, of course.
And it was interesting actually doing that movie that was the year I moved back to Paris. And it was a real synchronicity because I was just starting to formulate the idea of, I'd love to do acting again. I wonder how I could do it. And then I was called to ask if I would be interested to cast for this. And so it was like a perfect timing.
Yeah.
But... And the first day of shooting of that movie was with Fira and Niels Schneider in the museum, and 2 seconds before Catherine would say action, Virginie looked at her phone and told us Jeanne Moore had died, which was so interesting because Jeanne Moreau, she would have been on my walls, Yes. She like Elevator to the Gallows was one of the movies I saw very early on when my parents were playing me all these movies, and and it was quite interesting. Yeah, that it was
Oh.
at that moment that I learned she had died, when she had been such a hero of mine when I grew up.
Well, mine too. We have the Sophie Marceau, Jean Moreau. We have the same queens.
Oh, good,
especially,
good.
especially. I love it. We're elevated to the gallows, lift to the scaffold. There's so many different titles for that.
Oh,
that
true.
movie.
Yeah.
En Florence sur les
Ascenseur pour
Champs-Élysées.
l'échafaud.
Yeah,
Yeah. Oh,
of her
cool. I
walking
didn't
down
know
the
that
Champs-Élysées
title.
with
Yeah,
the Miles
yeah.
Davis
That's.
track.
Oh my God.
Mm.
That's
And
beautiful.
Corsini, I don't know. She was in Cannes this summer with the film. Did you see her again this summer? Because you were in Cannes at the same time.
Yeah, no, I didn't see her in Cannes, but we spoke. We texted when she got nominated, and we did with Les Olympiades. We texted each other. And her movie was really good, and I'm really glad it's doing well. Yeah.
What about if I could give you time travel as a gift?
Sure.
Like Doctor
I love
Who?
that.
Which movie set would you visit to see being made?
Okay, the first thing that popped to my mind when you said that was a Truffaut movie. It's The American Night.
Oh, La Nuit Américaine.
La Nuit Américaine, yeah.
Yes, it's
I don't know
called
the
Day.
English
It's
title.
called Day for Night in English, I think.
Yeah, it probably not gonna. It wouldn't be the most interesting. I
It
don't know.
would be amazing. It'd be in that. It'd be in the south of France, in Nice. They shot it in that studio.
Yeah, and I
Nice.
think just to see Truffaut work, I think Truffaut was one of them. I mean, I grew up with his films, but also as a character, he was as a man, as an artist. I think he was very interesting and very forward thinking, even though his movies can seem quite traditional. Even the way he did that book with Hitchcock.
Yeah.
It was the way he gave value to Hitchcock movies, Hollywood being, a mass culture, becoming also a subject of intellectual culture. You're bringing it into the intellectual world. And I think he was very, very forward thinking. And his movies have this timeless energy for me. And I don't know, that movie, there's a vibe to it. Very melancholic.
Very good vibe. And it's one of the best films about making films.
Yeah.
So it's got meta.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It totally. Yeah.
And it's not black and
Maybe
white.
that's why.
It's not black and white Truffaut. It's colour Truffaut. Which I like.
It is color.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Apart from the 100 blows, 400 blows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now you're off. I can see you're going back to London. You're on set now in your head. What's your favourite musical moment in all of cinema? Dance number, or it could be use of music. What's your favourite?
Kubrick, for sure.
Which bit? What the opening of 2001 or the?
Well, 2001 musically, but all of them as well.
So Kubrick's use of music.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. The Clockwork Orange, obviously.
The singing in the rain bit with Clockwork Orange when they're
Yeah.
having violent moments.
Yeah.
Jehnny Beth.
Yeah. It's a difficult one, isn't it?
It is.
But also if there's another one is Shadows of Cassavetes, because of the use of jazz and how, when he goes to jazz clubs and you feel that vibe, you feel that grit, that a sort of under culture.
Yeah.
It's not an under culture, but you know what I mean, underground culture.
Yes.
The way people used to go to those clubs and dance on jazz music, and the way the character sits with his sunglasses on the corner and watches those people play, and the lifetime of those musicians in New York. And so that's a film about music I really like.
And here's some of that music by French electronic artist Rhone, the theme to Paris 13, Paris 13th District, from the original soundtrack to that movie. The movie's out next weekend, March the 18th, in Curzon Cinemas and on Curzon Home Cinema. Brilliant, Jehnny Beth, I thought. I love talking to her and seeing her kitchen in Paris, as I did on the Zoom. A really interesting film, that one. Really fun, sexy, looks great. It's not the best Audiard movie ever, perhaps, but it is different for him. It's stylish and it's provocative, and wow, Lucy Zhang in her first film, she is a star. So I'm heading to the BAFTAs now. It's a shame my 2-hour BBC Red Carpet live show on the news channel has been cancelled. That's due to the situation in Ukraine. We just can't be covering fashion and film on a red carpet and then cutting away to the news of war. It's too risky visually, and we would have had to cut for breaking news, and that could have been of a nature so horrific that coming back to Jane Hill and me to talk about movies or dresses and stars, it just isn't the right tone, and I totally agree with that. So that's why you won't be seeing us. So if you think about it, that is the correct decision from a news point of view. It just doesn't work on the news channel because the news is not necessarily the BAFTAs this year. As it hasn't been for a little while, but that's what the task that cinema faces now, to kind of find a role amidst all of this. But I'll still be there at the BAFTAs. I'll be mooching around at the parties and at the event itself. I've got a nice date at the French Embassy to welcome the French nominees. Oh yeah. And then a few other lovely invites around town. So it'll be a big BAFTA weekend. Do watch the BAFTAs. I think the nominations this year are a great mix, even if I think BAFTA will go gaga for The Power of the Dog and give it maybe 5 BAFTAs, I'll say. I don't think it'll win all the acting categories, but cinematography for Ari Wegner, fine. Adapted screenplay, well, I haven't read the original book, but yes, it's a good screenplay. Director for Jane Campion, best movie, I think, and certainly best score for Johnny Greenwood. Maybe a 6th in there for Cody Smith-McKee in supporting, although I'm hoping that goes to Troy Conser from Coda. There you go. Some predictions for you. 5 BAFTAs, I say, for Power of the Dog. Just before we go, shout out for Red Rocket, which is out in cinemas this weekend. I loved that. A day-glow tale of the tawdry American dream from Sean Baker, he of Tangerines, and The Florida Project. This time directing Indie Spirit winner Simon Rex as a washed-up porn star, returning to his Texas oil town roots to corrupt another young soul who works in a donut shop.
Shit, you're Mikey. Yeah, man, it's me, man. It's me, Lonnie.
I know you?
Well, I mean, kinda. I mean, I live here, obviously, and, no, Lexi, man. Lexi used to babysit me all the time.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, my parents came home one night, y'all were humping in their bedroom. You jumped out the window, naked. They called the cops on you and everything.
Yep, now I remember. Oh, shit, your mother hates me.
Well, I mean, she hated you, man. Yeah, she died.
Oh, damn, sorry to hear that.
Nah, man, it's good, man. I mean, it happened over a year ago. Bladder cancer. Shit's a motherfucker.
Ah, shit, that sucks. Hey, we should hang out sometime. Take a spin in this bad boy.
Yeah, man, what are you even doing back here?
Oh, it's a long story, but do you think you could take me downtown tomorrow? We could catch up?
Yeah, dude, I would love to. I got nothing else to do.
Hell yeah, thanks, bro. Hey, let's just get you some shoes on this bitch. You're good to go.
Yeah, man, I can't wait.
All right.
And welcome back, dude. Fucking Mikey, man. Shit.
Seriously, it's funny, it's edgy, it's sexy again, it's creepy, it's desperate, it's scuzzily beautiful, a Trump's America satire, Red Rocket, see it. And, TV recommendation, I caught up with Mood on BBC iPlayer. Just great telly, really inventive, bursting out into song and dance numbers, but amid the wit and grit of a young East London girl trying to make it as a singer, but stuck sofa surfing and staying at a drug dealer with a samurai sword, and then she has to hook up with a sex worker who turns her onto a new revenue stream. It's just excellent stuff from everyone involved in bringing this from a one-woman play to the screen. But breakout props go to Nicole Leckie, who writes, stars, performs, sings, produces. We've found a real British gem of a star here. Mood is a bit Fleabag, I suppose, a bit I Will Destroy You, but it's all its own, really. It's a bit lighter than those and less experimental and less sort of hard-hitting, I suppose, but just it makes many of the same points and does it in that very fresh and inventive style. Well done, Mood. I cannot wait to see more. Okay, it's a lot of great stuff this week on Seen Any Good Films Lately. Red Rocket, Mood on the telly. Watch the BAFTAs on telly, 7 o'clock, BBC One, Sunday night. Get ready for Paris 13, Paris the 13th District, and The Worst Person in the World, and anything with Jeanne Moreau in it, as we were discussing with me and Jehnny Beth. So for me and Jehnny, let's go out with Miles Davis playing over Jeanne Moreau's legendary walk down the Champs-Élysées as Florence in Lift to the Scaffold. See you next week with the BAFTA results tucked under my arm.